Hollywood is not the same as it used to be. Gone are the days where you could just name an actor or an actress and say, we're going to go see this actor's movie. And you would know exactly what you're getting, or you'd be willing to give it a chance because it had that person in it. That doesn't really exist anymore. It's kind of bad for Hollywood. It's kind of some of the reasons why they're so heavily invested on franchises, because it's more about the character that gets people in seats now. A really good example is, and I've used this before, Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man. I mean, Iron Man was huge in the Marvel Universe. He was pretty much the main character. He had the most story development and growth as a character. And he got a lot of money for playing Iron Man. A lot of money. And those were some of the most popular movies of the past decade. They're huge. Robert Downey Jr. leaves the Marvel Universe. And it happened, it was like the same year. I want to say it was either the same year or a little bit after the first year, after Endgame, after the death of Tony Stark, arguably probably his biggest moment. Because, I mean, the character dies in the movie. It's a loved character. It's a great death scene for him. So I would say the character's probably still pretty high up there in popularity. He leaves. Makes a movie called Doolittle. Nobody goes to see it. He doesn't have the star power he would have back in the day, and he doesn't have Iron Man anymore. I'm just saying, these people don't put asses in seats anymore based on their names, is what I'm saying. And they're crazy. Their crazy actions on social media have helped ruin this. There's no star power anymore. Stars don't really exist anymore. Not like they used to. They used to be American royalty in a lot of ways. They really were. That's gone. I mean, because look at the crazy shit they do. So this is Jane Fonda. Big name. In a lot of movies. She's blaming men for climate change and says that we have to arrest and jail those men. Blames all of the climate problems of the world on the patriarchy and racism. For some reason, prejudice is the reason that the earth is heating up. I've had a complete meltdown at the Cannes Film Festival. So I want to go over what she said, because this is insane, and it really helps highlight how crazy the people in Hollywood are. It really does seem like the people that work in Hollywood that don't live there are the more sane ones. Chris Hemsworth comes to mind, Thor. He seems pretty okay. You know where he lives? In Australia. He flies to Hollywood when he's got to work, and then he gets the hell out of there. Dave Chappelle, you know where he lives? He lives in Ohio with a bunch of acres and four-wheelers. I'm not even kidding. Like, some documentary I watched of him, like, riding four-wheelers with his kids. He has, like, 60 acres or something. He don't live in Hollywood. So listen to this nut. Hollywood star Jane Fonda made this outrageous claim Friday that climate change is being caused exclusively by men, specifically white men, adding that those men must be arrested and jailed. And then she goes on to blame the patriarchy and racism. What she said there is racist. So speaking at a career retrospective at the Cannes Film Festival in France, Jane Fonda promoted her radical climate activism efforts, saying the world has about 7-8 years to cut fossil fuel consumption in half. She also said people of color that are poor, as well as populations in southern hemispheres, will be the hardest hit by global warming. It's a tragedy that we have to absolutely stop. We have to arrest and jail those men. They're all men, she said, according to Deadline. Later, Fonda continued her anti-male climate change talk and said, it's good for us to realize that there would be no climate crisis if there was no racism. There would be no climate crisis if there was no patriarchy, she reportedly said. If men weren't running things, we would still be back grabbing berries and throwing spears at mastodons or whatever the hell we ate back in the day. And you're welcome, by the way. You're also welcome for roads, buildings, sewers, water lines, cars, technology. Where would we be if we didn't have all of those men? What does she want? Does she want to live in huts? You want to live in huts? You want to gather and hunt? What would we do if we went back to that? Well, you'd be grabbing berries, number one. Because the day all of these wild, crazy bullshit things that these Hollywood people say go away, all this dumb shit, all this third wave feminist stuff goes away, is the day society breaks down. Because then all of those gender roles would quickly reestablish. All this nonsense would go away. That's how you know that people have no problems anymore. It's all first world problems. All this third wave feminist garbage, patriarchy, trash shit that they talk about all the time. So she goes on to say, white men are the things that matter, and everything else is at the bottom. Though she fails to mention that China, which isn't run by white men, ranks as the world's largest polluter, emitting more greenhouse gases than all developed nations combined. That's right. What are they going to do? Everybody else has to change, but China, of course, and all these crazy rants. So when I say that I'm fighting the climate crisis, I also say that I'm fighting patriarchy and racism. It's important because we have to get out of the silos. Feminists over here, environmentalists over here. That's what I learned when I started being an activist around the Vietnam War. The more you go down in the issue, whatever it is, you realize that it's all connected. And if we're to solve the climate crisis and we haven't solved those other things, we're going to be in trouble. And here's something that she previously said on the Kelly Clarkson show. Well, you know, you can take everything, sexism, racism, misogyny, homophobia, whatever, and war. And if you really get into it and study it and learn about it and the history of it, everything's connected. There'd be no climate crisis if it wasn't for racism. So she started all this in 2019, probably when she couldn't get work anymore from Hollywood. Well, I'll just go do this activism thing here. Oh, these people are insane. Yep, that's it. Patriarchy and racisms are the reason that the world is getting hotter. Sure, Jane. Sure, Jan. Hey, see, this is why the movie star is dead. Because she's not the only one doing it. Look at crazy Sarah Silverman, who thinks that construction symbols are swastikas. Or Jamie Lee Curtis, who thought a broken mail truck getting towed to a shop was Trump trying to steal the election. These people are crazy. And thanks to social media, we get to see how insane they are in real time. But this is a really good example of how crazy these people are. None of those things will change anything. You really want to make any changes in climate, maybe you should get China to stop polluting everything with no regulation. That might help. Anything, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Check out my Rumble and Locals, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Make sure to check out my Locals. There's a link in the description. It's a fun community that I'm trying to build over here. If you don't want to support me on YouTube, you can come over here. None of that money goes to YouTube. You also can just come over here for free. But if you are a supporter over here, I do plan on doing an extra live stream once a month and throwing links to the supporters so you can actually come on and have a supporter live stream with me. Also, it's a good place to catch all of my content. You don't have to worry about notifications like YouTube. They'll definitely work over here. So come check out my Locals.